Good morning.
Good morning.
I read somewhere a long time ago, and they've talked about it here at some point, that human beings' idea of being a separate self, you're over there and you're over there, I'm over here, the idea that we are separate and distinct from one another, at least at a certain level, is a result of our the evolutionary process, where we recognize we weren't all one thing, where our brains and our experiences many hundreds of thousands of years ago, we recognized that when one monkey goes this way, we don't all have to go that way. And those amazing formations of birds that flow like magic together. That when the weather changes ever so slightly and there's more dampness in the air, we don't all have to thunder off to our winter quarters. And that was the original sin that they talk about in the Old Testament. The original sin is recognition that we are not all one thing. We're unique, distinct individuals. And I like that idea. I should say that idea makes sense. Original sin is recognizing that we are unique, separate individuals, all part of the vast cosmic dharmic dance, all interconnected in profound, deep ways, but we are separate. And that's original sin. I like that idea. It makes sense to me. And along the way, coming out of Africa and spreading across the planet, Homo sapiens developed community rules and traditions and hierarchies. Some people were thought to be special from other people. So they were treated differently and they were given different privileges. Maybe didn't have to work so hard, or got the blessing of multiple husbands, something like that. Just seeing if you're listening. And these are some of the ideas about how culture was formed. And as we became more evolved as a culture, it is said, we moved further away from God. However, in any community, there were those special people who had some kind of a connection, at least had a ritualistic connection to the spirit world. It's called different things in different places at different times. But the shamans, the priests, the unique folks, in some cultures they were what we would today call crazy, mentally ill, people who were hallucinating and speaking in tongues. They were crazy by our standards. But in tribal cultures, long, long ago, they were touched by God and honored. How things have changed. And then human beings being what we are, we created gods. We created gods. We built statues and buildings and structures and philosophies and beliefs and mythology and ritual so that we had God back in our life. See those fabulous European, Asian deities, those magnificent Egyptian and African sculptures of God. That's a 2-semester graduate course. There's something that we want, it seems, something that some of us want. We want a reconnection with, I don't like the word God, but something that connects us to a deeper truth, a higher level of awareness. And I judge that that's what we do when we sit. It's not conscious, it's not necessarily conscious, but it is what we do when we sit very quietly. We notice everything. And the ego drops away little by little. We are moving toward or experiencing what Homo sapiens were like 70,000 years ago and didn't know they were separate. I mean, I knew you were over there, but we weren't separate. Does that make sense? So if that's reasonable, if that makes sense, in 21st century America, each time we practice, each time we sit formally like this, or informally out in the world, trying to behave like decent human beings, picking up trash, not wasting, being kind, we are, I think, very directly reaching for that experience, reaching for that connection to what humans used to call God. Maybe some still do. And I judge that it takes a great deal of discipline, a great deal of self-awareness to understand the self, to understand the feeling nature of being human, to honor and respect our sadness, to honor and respect our joy, to be fully human so that we can have that experience, move little by little backwards 70,000 years ago. Think so? So from one perspective, this is an evolution, moving towards something cleaner, bigger, better, safer, more loving. And in another sense, it's a return to the way human beings used to be. And we didn't kill each other. We weren't selfish. We shared our food. We shared our shelter. I think that's what I've learned about chimpanzees and baboons and so forth. And then we became meat eaters. It's one of the arguments that says the reason we were able to advance intellectually, cognitively, so quickly is that we discovered we could eat protein, we could eat meat, and something about the protein exploded our brains, and we became more creative and more. So, not advocating it, but just know it's in the stream there. I think is fascinating. And one last thing, I've got a longer piece I'll share someday. So does a chimpanzee or a baboon or a dog or a cat, now we'll leave dogs and cats out of it, do primates know that they're sick and dying? Some people would say absolutely. They behave certain ways, they become quieter, they eat less, they sleep more, they rest, conserve their energy. But do they know they're dying? Or do they just know something's different? I'm not well schooled enough to have a good answer for myself. I would argue that they don't know they're dying because they don't know they exist. Here, Fido. That must be me. So do we know that we're dying? Right now. Good luck. I think it's really interesting. I'll tell you about it sometime. Thoughts, feelings, arguments?
That last portion you were talking about death reminds me of that. I don't remember how it exactly goes, but it's the most amazing thing that, I can't remember who it was, but that was observed is how people can observe other people dying, but then they don't realize that death is coming for them as well. I can't remember exactly how the quote goes, but it's something along those lines. It reminded me of that.
TikTok, baby. Has anyone here ever been with somebody who, while they died? I have. Okay. Isn't it interesting? I was this far away from my father at his hospice bed when he died, talking with my mom. I didn't know he died. He didn't tremor, he just died. It was fascinating. Got up to leave and my mom kissed him on the forehead and she said, JP, he's cold. No kidding. Blowing out the candle. And other people, I'm told, death is a more physical experience. More tremors and release of the bowels and things like that. That was really an honor to be with him when he died. He didn't know it, but I don't think. Maybe he did. TikTok. So how are you going to use today? I'm going to use it to be an asshole. Let's go have coffee. Thank you for being here.